This is the Ambazonia Independent Manifesto, brought to you by the Ambazonian Governing Council. In the annals of human history, the struggle for freedom and self-determination has been a recurring theme, a testament to the indomitable spirit of oppressed peoples yearning to breathe the air of liberty after enduring decades of colonial rule, marginalization, oppression, and denial of their fundamental rights. The journey towards independence and self-determination is often odious and flawed with challenges, but it is a path born out of unwavering desire for freedom, justice, and recognition. The Ambazonian struggle is not different. The struggle for the Ambazonian independence is deeply rooted in over a century of resistance against foreign domination and oppression. The Ambazonian Independent Manifesto, drafted by the Ambazonian Governing Council, articulates the historical and ongoing grievances of the Ambazonian people and lays out a comprehensive vision for their future. This document is a testament to the enduring spirit of the Ambazonian people who have long resisted various forms of colonial rule and oppression, from German colonization in the late 19th century to the present-day occupation by La République du Cameroon. The Ambazonia Independent Manifesto is divided into three parts. Part 1. What we have suffered. This section details the various forms of oppression and injustices inflicted upon the Ambazonian people by La République du Cameroon. It highlights the illegal occupation, political subjugation, economic exploitation, cultural assimilation, and human rights violations that have been perpetrated against Ambazonians. The historical context provided here underscores the legitimacy of the Ambazonian struggle for independence and self-determination. Part 2. Our right to life, liberty, and happiness. This section asserts the inherent rights of the Ambazonian people to freedom, sovereignty, and self-governance. It invokes international law and resolutions such as the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 1514, which affirms the right of all peoples to self-determination. The declaration emphasizes that the Ambazonian people have a natural and inalienable right to establish their sovereign state free from the occupation and tyranny of La République du Cameroon. Part 3. The final section underlines the founding principles and the vision for an independent Ambazonia. It details the proposed system of governance, which is based on democratic traditionalism, republicanism and distributive federalism, and national unity. The manifesto envisioned a society founded on the pillars of freedom, the rule of law, peace, and the just common good. It also includes a comprehensive charter of rights and freedoms, emphasizing the importance of education, healthcare, justice, and economic prosperity for all citizens. The Ambazonia Independent Manifesto is not merely a declaration of political intent. It is a profound expression of a people's historical experiences, cultural identity, and their unheeding resolve to reclaim their sovereignty. It speaks to the long-standing grievances stemming from colonization, marginalization, oppression, and the denial for their fundamental rights. Through its pages, the voices of the oppressed resonate, demanding acknowledgement and redress. It is a landmark document in this journey and a culmination of years of peaceful protests, legal battles, the diplomatic efforts that have been met with indifferences, genocide, brutality, and disproportionate violence. It embodies the collective will and aspiration of the people of Ambazonia. The manifesto makes a compelling case for why the international community must recognize and support Ambazonians' quest for independence. It highlights the urgent need for diplomatic initiatives, humanitarian aid, and renewed focus on addressing the ongoing conflict and humanitarian crisis in the region. The Norwegian Refugee Council's recent report, which ranks Ambazonian's crisis as the second most neglected conflict in the world, underscores the dire need for international attention and intervention. The ongoing violence has displaced hundreds of thousands of people, disrupting education, and leads to several human rights abuses. Despite these challenges, the Ambazonian people have demonstrated remarkable resilience and have established self-governance structures in areas under their control. The Ambazonia Independent Manifesto, codenamed Sunlight, is a ray of hope for each Ambazonian. It is written in 3 parts. Part 1 deals with some of the atrocities Ambazonians have suffered in the hands of La République du Cameroon colonial rule. Part 2 exposes our right to a life of liberty or dignity and happiness in the land of our birth. Part 3 highlights the great vision for the best country in the world that we aspire to build. In all, it set forth the principles that guide our struggle, why we fight to be free, what we envisage to gain as a free people, and the strategies we will employ to attain our goals. In addition, it outlines our vision for a free and democratic Ambazonia, where the rights of every person are respected, and where justice, peace and happiness and prosperity reigns. This will not only correct the criminal and genocidal past, but will guarantee each citizen of Ambazonia inalienable individual, collective and community rights. Once you get a copy, you will know better and act right for us to realize this great vision as soon as possible. In presenting this preface, we honor the dedication and bravery of the authors who have given voice to a cause that transcends political boundaries. Their work is a testament to the power of collective action and the enduring quest for the freedom. It is our hope that this manifesto will inspire solidarity, provoke thoughtful discourse, and galvanize support for the Ambazonian struggle, ultimately leading to the realization of their long-cherished dream of independence. The Ambazonia Independent Manifesto is therefore a clarion call to all Ambazonians at home and in the diaspora to unite or at least collaborate in the historical struggle. It is a call to action, a call to perseverance, and a call to triumph over tyranny. Together we build a future where the children of Ambazonia can live in freedom and dignity in a land they can proudly call their own. As the Ambazonian struggle enters a new phase, the Ambazonian Independent Manifesto serves as a roadmap for achieving a just and lasting peace. It calls on all stakeholders, including international human rights organizations, peace and conflict resolution experts, and donor countries to support the Ambazonian people in their fight for freedom and justice. The manifesto is a powerful reminder that the quest for independence and self-determination is a fundamental human right, and it is a right that the people of Ambazonia are determined to realize. The international community has a moral duty to support the cause, as it aligns with the universal principles of human rights and self-determination enshrined in the international laws. We call upon nations and people of the world to stand with us in solidarity, to recognize our plight, and to support our legitimate aspiration for independence. In the spirit of liberty and justice, we present this manifesto to the world as a beacon of hope, a testament to our unheeding resolve. Let it be known that the flames of freedom burns brighter in the hearts of Ambazonians, and no force can extinguish our quest for independence. With profound respect and admiration, Jose Abang.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers of ACN TV all across the world, dear lovers of Ambazonia, you're welcome to this panel discussion, Economy and Finance of the New Ambazonia. Gentlemen, you are all welcome. For years, the conversation regarding Ambazonia has been dominated by the struggle for political identity, rights, and self-determination. We have discussed the politics of freedom tirelessly, but history teaches us a brutal lesson. Political independence without economic sovereignty is a house built on sand. With the Ambazonian Independence Manifesto, we are shifting the battle, we are shifting the narrative. We are moving from historic rhetoric to reality. I have in front of me the Ambazonian Independence Manifesto, in which enshrines the Ambazonian Economic Blueprint, AEBP. This is not just a wish list, it is a proposed 20 years horizon for the Ambazonian people. It attempts to answer the hard question: when the dust settles with currency, which currency will be in our pockets? Which currency will be in your pockets? How do we move from subsistence farming to food self-sufficiency? How do we rebuild infrastructure across every oblast, from the coast of the savannah to the shores of our land in Ambazonia? This document outlines 10 strategic pillars, a new microeconomic framework, and a vision for social justice. But paper acts, however well written, do not build bridges, and they do not feed families. Execution does. This is a comprehensive blueprint covering every form of monopoly to regional development. As the host, my goal is to wave a narrative that moves from philosophical vision to the hard economic mechanics, and finally to execution and governance. I have a few targeted questions to the panelists to ensure a dynamic discussion. Here are the panelists. We have Ambazonia finance economic expert, Mr. Emmanuel Sapel, who will focus on viability, data, currency, and physical discipline. You are welcome, sir. We equally have with us a leadership visionary, a leadership strategist, who will focus on leadership, human capital, governance, and social cohesion. To dissect this blueprint, we didn't just want any chair kind of leaders. We wanted architects. We have the financial expert to test it if the numbers add up. And we have the strategic leadership experts to tell us how to govern this transition without corruption eating it up alive. Our goal here today is simple. We are going to stress test this blueprint. We are going to ask uncomfortable questions, because if this is the roadmap to the future, we need to know if the road is paved. Dear die-hearted patriots of Ambazonia, gentlemen and gentlemen, you are welcome to this program. Dear viewers of ACN TV and other media platforms, this is your program. This is your program. grab a cup of mbu, grab a cup of palm wine, grab a cup of sha, grab a cup of nkang, or a glass of wine, wherever, and enjoy the program with me, your humble servant, Reverend John, the chairperson of the Ambazonia Manifesto Launch Commission. Thank you so much. I'll then usher in our honorable guest for this program, this economic blueprint for today, as I've earlier given you their expertise, our leadership strategists, and our finance and economic expert. I'll start with our financial expert, the brain behind the economic blueprint. He will give us a synopsis of the Ambazonia blueprint, and then we will kickstart. Welcome, Mr. Emmanuel, to the show. Welcome to the Ambazonia blueprint presentation. Thank you. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, host and chairman. It is quite a pleasure and an honor to be in the presence of such luminaries, and I feel equally in debt to join you all on this platform as we introduce the economic blueprint that is part of the Ambazonian Independent Manifesto. I would like to thank my fellow panelists as well to have used this opportunity to join us to have this conversation, and I'm looking forward to the detailed discussions as we unveil the economic plan that will be part of the Independence Manifesto. And having said that, the manifesto, as released and will subsequently be made public, either part of it in whole or in part, it begins with introduction with the philosophy, and then the philosophy that discusses the fact that this manifesto is going to be that the economic plan is going to be very people-centered, that we would focus on an economy that is productive, not extractive. It will be decentralized. It will be private sector driven and public interest regulated. And then equally, we are thinking about the environment and regionally integration. Now, the plan goes on to talk about the second part section of the plan talks about what will anchor the economy. And these elements of the anchor of the economy, there were 10 of them that we identify, being the currency and the monetary policy. The plan talks about the fiscal policy. And then we go on to talk about the industrialization and the manufacturing capacity of the nation, the natural resources and governing principles, human capital development. The plan will further elaborate on the infrastructure and connectivity of the various states, entrepreneurship development. The plan focuses equally, another pillar of it, which we equally talked about, was the trade, regional, global integration. And then gender equality will be fostered with a lot of regard and emphasis towards getting women participation in the economy. Obviously, in this day and age, you cannot talk about anything without the involvement of the climate. And finally, the 10th pillar of the plan will be the engagement of the diaspora. Now, the plan moves on to the execution phase, where it goes on to the details. It identifies the various individual regions of the state and how each of the focus will be for every state within the economic of Ambazonia. And then finally, it identified the various resources and looking at a balanced development for the entire state and region as a whole. At this point, I will let my co-panelists also chime in before we go into the details.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. Thank you for that elaborate synopsis of the blueprint of the economic blueprint of Ambazonia. Before we get into before I come to you, our strategists, our leadership strategists, let me just clarify the Ambazonian people. Why the manifesto? The manifesto clarifies our vision. You know, the vision of a people, because it shifts our focus from what we have been fighting for, what we've been fighting against, to what we are looking forward to. We are looking forward to a nation, and then it tweaks the narrative from the press, because the press, had this narrative. We are not united. We will be like South Sudan, and so this manifesto, shifts the focus, and tells the press that we are a united people, because this manifesto is a unifying factor. Just like the flag, just like the anthem, it is one of those tools that unify our people. All revolutionary groups, irrespective, they use the flag, they use the anthem. And so this is another tool, the manifesto, that it cuts across, political divides. So it clarifies our vision. And then to the international community, it gives a clear vision to the international community that they should focus on the nation and not on the divides because international communities and international actors, they focus more on our divide rather than focusing on the nation. And so number two, it unifies all the movements. Like I said, this is a tool. It's a unifying tool. Number three, it spells out the Bill of Rights, the rights of Ambazonian, the rights of each Ambazonian, to have all rights to education, to all the rights that we know. And fourthly, it is an international appeal to the international community that we are ready to govern this nation. And the last one, is the legitimization of governance. We are telling the world that we are ready for governance, because this manifesto explains how we are going to govern Ambazonia and all the aspects of governance. That is why we have the economic blueprint. And so we'll be coming to you with other departments that govern the lives of the people of Ambazonia. Back to you, our leadership strategist. The blueprint opens with a core economic philosophy in section 1. That's a question I'm asking you. We often hear about political independence, but economic independence requires a shift in mindset. From the strategic leadership perspective, does this philosophy sufficiently move us away from the current centralized command structure to a truly liberated market economy? And are the people ready for this shift? Over to you, our leadership strategist.
Thank you very much, the chairman of the Ambazonian Manifesto Commission, and thank you very much, the chair of the Ambazonia Economic Council. I'm very delighted to be among great people to participate in these discussions for today. Chairman, our history itself, the history of the Ambazonian people, is a testament of what Ambazonia is going to be. The culture we inherited, the foundation of who we are. It's a testament to what the Ambazonian people should expect. Between 1954, when our forefathers left the Eastern House, to 1961, in a period of 7 years, the development in Ambazonia was 3-4 times that of La République du Cameroon. Within 7 years, when our forefathers left the Eastern House and set up self-governance structure in Ambazonia within 7 years. The development within the Ambazonian society was 2 times, 3 times, 4 times more than the development in La République du Cameroon. So this is the history we inherited. This is a foundation we inherited. A foundation of visionary people. A foundation of people that work based on structures, based on research, based on plans. We're a culture of hard-working people. We are not a dependent culture. We've never begged for food. So we have everything it takes. La République has destroyed our society, destroyed our institutions. But what they did not destroy is the spirit of the Ambazonian people. What they didn't destroy is our capacity, our human, our intellectual, our moral capacity, our capacity to create, to reinvent. That La République did not destroy. And as long as we have these capacities, there is nothing else Ambazonians cannot create, cannot have, cannot be, cannot do. We, the Ambazonian people, with the Ambazonian Independence Manifesto, with the economic blueprint that is now being presented to us, we have everything it takes to develop more than Singapore. In our economic blueprint, the security of our people, the stabilization phase within the first 2 years will focus on the protection of the Ambazonian people, the policing of the Ambazonian people, the stabilization of Ambazonian society. Progress, development, investments follow stability. Where there is no stability, there's no investment. Nobody make investments in chaotic environment, in insecure environments. So part of our economic plan, you cannot develop a society where people don't feel safe. So part of that is that the Ambazonia Governing Council, based on our manifesto, based on the economic blueprint, we will start by keeping the Ambazonian people, the Ambazonian state, the Ambazonian communities, Ambazonian towns, Ambazonian cities safe. Peace, security, and stability. The intelligence system that will make sure our policing are proactive, gather intelligence, to make sure they disrupt before anything else. Once we have this infrastructure, the security infrastructure lays the foundation of a great state, because development always follows stability. Before any other economic plan, we start with keeping the Ambazonian people safe. Once we do that, we move to the state of building Ambazonian institutions, the governance institutions, taxation institutions, the institutions for revenue collection, the institutions to implement this vision, to implement our economic policies, to implement our social policy, educational policy, foreign policies, the policies of governance. I look forward to a very constructive, a very interesting, a very passionate conversation. Let me just give those that are watching, let me just give you a forecast. Based on the economic model that the Economic Council has presented, the growth within the first 2 years of independence will be between 3 to 4% in our GDP. Think about it. Within 2 years of Ambazonian independence, the economic growth in terms of GDP will be between 3 to 4%. Within the first 5 years, Ambazonia will leave La Republique in the dust. Over to you, Chairman.
That is excellent. That is excellent. Our financial and economic experts, do you confirm that economic independence requires a shift of mindset? If yes, the question is, are our people ready? Because if we look at the mind shift in Burkina Faso, it is that mind shift that gave, the people, when you look at what is happening in Burkina Faso, the people have, their minds have shifted. In your own view, economic expert, Mr. Manuel, what are we ready? Ambazonians ready?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In fact, the answer to that question is a yes. Yes, in that we have a history that we've done this before, and Ambazonia can do it again. It requires some of the strategy that has been laid down in this economic vision. One of the things that the spokesperson said earlier on was the fact that you cannot operate an economy in an unsecured environment. That the first things that are going to be implemented will be strategies that will call for the security and safety of Ambazonians. The plan that we have in place that the National Economic Council is suggesting or proposes as part of the Independent Manifesto calls for not just the safety, but for rules, the legal framework that is set in place. Amazonia is fortunate that we already have a legal system that generally works, even though it needs a little bit of further tweaking. The legal framework, the right policies that are put in place, including economic integration within states, the the functioning of the state, not just as an individual state, but equally partnerships with various other countries. All of these would create an environment for which the Amazonian people can adequately function. Now you cannot have a state where the people are equally not well versed in terms of education. So the plan calls for, which is further going to be implemented by the educational team, the educational department. The plan calls for building capacity, the capacity both technical and scientific, and we are talking about facing the digital environment, the digital future that is coming up. So the plan calls for preparing the citizens of Ambazonia as well towards facing that future. The plan, in its full execution, equally calls for the partnership in terms of technologies of the future, bringing it in place, and with that education of Ambazonians and with the right political and legal environment executing this plan. Now, I would end with this other part of the plan. The government or the state is there to create the right environment for business to function and flourish. Ambazonia will not be able to function in an environment as we've seen the case where La Republique and its overwhelming state security apparatus that has hindered the growth of Ambazonians. So with a new environment, with a new state apparatus creating the right economic platform, the right, this includes maybe building transportation, this includes building educational facilities, health facilities, and all of this. That with the creation of that environment and security environment, then it would then create a pace for Ambazonians that are very highly endowed to begin putting in businesses in place. And that also falls within the foreign strategy of having foreign direct investment into Ambazonia. So we see that Ambazonia will be ready, and as the spokesperson said, ready within the first 5 years to generate an economic growth that surpasses a lot of its peers in the region and internationally. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well. These are experts. Let's move to section 2 of our blueprint.
Chairman,
On section 2, yeah, you have something to add?
I wanted to add something to what the chair of the Economic
Okay,
Council has said.
go ahead, Stokes.
It's extremely important before we move to section 2.
Good. Okay.
Remember the reason we are fighting. We're not just fighting to liberate Ambazonia. We're fighting to end the system that has destroyed our people's capacity and what has also destroyed La Republique itself.
Yes, sir.
And that's leadership. The liberation struggle has taught the Ambazonian people the importance of effective, committed leadership. A leadership that responds to the needs, the aspirations, the hopes, the dreams of the people. A leadership that is service-oriented leadership. Leaders wants to govern and are elected based on their character and their commitment to the development of the people. Leaders that are not seeking to be politicians or to take public responsibilities to enrich themselves. So the Ambazonia that we are creating is an Ambazonia where leaders are there to contribute to the development of our people, to the development of the state, to the growth of our people, to improve the quality of their lives, to give them better health, better education system. This is the importance of the Ambazonia Manifesto, the importance of the economic blueprint, the importance of why we're fighting, to purify ourselves, get ourselves to this place where we can become more responsible as a people, not just people that have, we want just freedom. Freedom to do what? You want independence. Independence to do what? You want liberty. Liberty to do what? To live that full life. All the instruments of the state, the responsibility of leadership, of the Ambazonia Governing Council, of the IGK, the coming together of these leaders, the bringing together all Ambazonian movements to create a leadership that is people and service focused and oriented for the development of the Ambazonian people. This is what we are talking about. We can talk about all these economic models, but if at the core of it, the character of the state will be a reflection of the character of the people. So centrally, this is why today we are in a liberation war to cast out these people that are destroying who we are, these puppets, these enablers, and to let the Ambazonian people, the spirit, the creativity, the innovative nature of the Ambazonian people to rise so that we can be able to take these dreams, these visions, these policies, these ideas, and translate them into economic miracle for the development, the prosperity, and the wealth of the Ambazonian people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's the work of a strategist, economic strategist, political strategist that you are. Let's move into section 2 of our blueprint. Economic and financial expert. This is directed to you. Section 2 on the macro economic framework outlines the creation of a new currency and a monetary policy. This is arguably the most dangerous phase for many new entities, new nations. What are the specific safeguards in this blueprint to prevent hyperinflation or currency collapse in the first 5 years that you made allusion to just a while ago? And how do we gain international trust for a new Ambazonia currency? Over to you, Mr. Manuel.
That is a good question, host. The economy cannot generally function without necessarily making reference to the politics. But the politics generally it's open for discussions and debate in the formulation of the right framework to allow the economy to function. So that would be open for discussion. Now, what this plan envisages is an economic system in which it calls for the partition of the Amazonian state into 4 different regions. We would recall, for those of you that can remember, Ambazonia used to be under the British, divided into 3 different divisions. You had the Bamenda division, you had the Kumba division, and finally you had the Manfe division. As you all know, Manfe was a very as an economic capital. There was a lot of economic activities that were happening around the Manfe division. This plan calls for for the politics to have conversations around the division of the state into 4 different regions, and that could include the mountain state, the central state, the savannah state, and the Atlantic state. What it also envisages is that when we talk about the Atlantic state, for example, if you look at where the capital is currently located, it is very close to the Atlantic Ocean, very close to an area which is prone to volcanic eruptions. We make the case in the economic plan that there should be like the capital of Nigeria did, the movement from Lagos to Abuja, where it is moved to a different location. That is also to be discussed. But Boya then will become the Silicon Valley of for education, for research, for development, and when I say development, proposals for different research outcome for the implementation of the entire strategy for Ambazonia. We envisage a situation where Bamenda, under the Savannah state, would then become the financial capital of the state. We envisage a situation, we can talk about the details when I say financial capital, where the stock exchange will be located, where banking, investment, almost like Hong Kong. When you look at the way that China is also carved out, if you look at the province of Shenzhen, that is where a lot of the technical knowledge, technology, and new digital proposals come out. So we envisage that.
Just like Johannesburg.
Johannesburg, thank you. We envisage that would be the situation with Boya. And then coming down to Limbe and down to Kumba, we envisage with this economic plan that we would have what we might call the economic capital of the state. It is attached due to several other economic benefits. It is attached to the Atlantic Ocean. It is easy for shipping. It has the right climate. It has the right infrastructure that can be implemented for that. And then moving towards Mbengwi. So what we look at after that division, in order not to take time to go into the execution phase of this plan, we look at balanced development. And going back to your question, we envisage a country where each and every individual, anchored properly, will have the right and with the right environment, has the proper tools in order to do business. And if it is properly supported by the politics, then we would have the right atmosphere for which even foreign direct investment, foreign investors, and other foreign governments can look into doing business with Ambazonia. I hope that it's addressing your question.
Great. My strategist, how do we gain international trust for our new Ambazonian currency? How do we gain international trust, to support the new Ambazonian currency we started something already. We are working on something already. We have our Amber coin. We have all of
right,
that which is
right.
in place. We have the Amber already. The Amber
Yeah,
is already being
right.
resounded in the corridors and so on. So
Yeah,
let the Ambazonian people
yeah,
know how are we going to gain trust with the new Ambazonian currency.
yeah. Sorry,
We,
I
I
forgot to
and
connect. I forgot to connect the dots
I
on
will,
that.
let me let the chair of the Economic Council respond to that question. In
Okay.
2017, I think in 2017 or 2018, the chair of the Economic Council drove almost 9 hours in the middle of winter and came through the Canadian borders, and we had an interview about Amber Coin. I remember that conversation vividly. So we have these things that have already been designed years and years ago. The basis of Ambazonia economy and finance, whether it's digital economy or physical economy, those structures have been worked on. The political recognition of Ambazonia will be the springboard where you see these ideas you've been talking about. You see these ideas now flourish. So we've had that discussion, but let me leave the expert to talk about it, and then I will chime in with the kind of leadership that is compelling and attractive enough to be able to attract the international community to want to do business with what we have. And we have a lot to offer. So
The question is coming. That question is coming. Yes, it's coming, my leader. Yes, take it over. Take it over. Take it
Very, very,
over, my financial expert.
very good question. I'm sorry, in trying to connect the dots, I missed my train of thought. So you asked a very good
Yeah.
question, and I want to thank I'm surprised that the spokesman still remembers this. In the middle of winter, we also went to Niagara Falls, and it was very cold and freezing.
I still have those pictures.
I'm so glad he was very available enough and very hospitable to host me. And at the time, initially we had not even met before. We made calls, and then I drove over there, met him. He was very generous and very gracious. Thank you for that. Um, so initially at
Let,
Independence,
let,
we envisaged.
let me highlight the question again. In the first 5 years, how do we prevent hyperinflation and currency collapse? And how do we gain international trust with the new currency? Go ahead.
Thank you. So at Independence, at the first 1 to 5 years, we envisage a situation, a possibility, because currently Ambazonians use the CFA franc. So we envisage a situation where they would continue to use that CFA franc. Now, a lot of Ambazonians have been trading with our brothers across the
Nigeria.
river state in Biafra. And over there is equally the use of the Naira. So a discussion would be in play as to which of these currencies that we can temporarily continue to do business in. A lot of the activities that we do in Ambazonia can possibly work on the Naira. The reason for which it can work on the Naira is because we have the same, very similar economy. If we take, for example, with the CFA, activities of the economy that happen in Europe that use it because the CFA is pegged to the euro. Activities that
Yeah.
happen within the eurozone tend to impact the CFA, and the CFA therefore impacts the way that we do business in Ambazonia. Meanwhile, we are not in the eurozone. So there is a potential that we would have to peg a currency. We would have to begin the use of the naira first because it's a currency that easily reflects our economic situation. And over time, but this might not be politically very sound. But over time, we would work with that with the politics at the right time. But over time, we would have to introduce the currency of Ambazonia but and through the Ambazonia Bank, central bank itself. Currently, like the spokesperson said, we have already developed a currency of Ambazonia. If I were prepared, I'll show you the template of it. Yes, I think that's the template of it that is on on the screen. So with the currency of Ambazonia already exists, and we have a digital form reflected by Amber coin that equally exists of that currency. Um, so it will be easy for us to manage the monetary policy of Ambazonia through the use of both the fiscal currency, the fiat currency, and the digital version of that currency. Because we are building a digital and a state, we would encourage the use of the digital currency, which is the backup version of the physical currency. What is equally going to happen is because we envisage recently, if you see what happened in Iran, where there was a purchase of the Iranian currency and a sudden liquidation of the Iranian currency that created almost of a devaluation of the Iranian currency that caused the recent protests, but that which was politically motivated in order to avoid those situations, and because that led to the devaluation and it could also lead to inflation. We have a scenario where we would therefore manage the Ambazonian currency the through the digital version, and the digital version allows us to be able to inject funds into the economy or buy back the funds from the economy in order to create the stability of the currency itself. There are various other instruments that are available to the central bank in order to help manage the inflation rate or the stability of that currency. We had looked to pegging our currency towards another very stable currency, but there is currently a debate within the Ambazonia Treasury to allow us to float that currency when as needed in order to stabilize the economy. So we are fully, I would say that we are fully prepared for those scenarios to generate investor confidence, to generate international confidence, because this has been done before, whether it is South Sudan or it is any other recently permitted state like Somaliland. Thank you.
Wonderful. As a follow-up, has the Amber coin, because has the Amber coin been listed on the on the list of currencies, digital currencies? Where are we at with the digital currency? Just in details.
Yeah, with a digital currency, we had it listed on Ethereum and also on crypto platforms. But we realized that as the currency of the state, it was going to fluctuate very significantly, and we did not want a currency of a state that will fluctuate too much as to not allow for investor confidence. So what we ended up doing was to restrict trading of that currency, and right now the currency is just sitting, allowing for the right time for us to push it into the system. So at this point in time, it is not the right time because we do not want a currency that will fluctuate and not really create for investor confidence. We want a currency that is more stable, that will be pegged to probably the US dollars at a certain exchange rate. When the US dollars would fluctuate, it would also fluctuate, but at the same time would allow us to the currency to float relative to other currencies that will become our trading partners, including both. I mean, if we think about it, there is currently the discussion around the fact that the African population is still generally very young. By 2050, we would have a population of 2.5 billion people. So just within our trading region, that is a huge market for Ambazonia to tap into. So to work with.
Great. Strategists, our strategists. You want to add something to the confidence that our currency will generate, and to the digital world, because every nation is almost going. America is creating its own digital currency, and every nation is almost going creating its own digital currency. Would you like to add something on that? how we're going to get that confidence, international confidence, to back our currency. Over to you, sir.
The international confidence, as you already know, in the business world, come from the political system that you set up. That's the political system, the business climate that you set up. If the laws and the institutions, if you have a country that is highly corrupted, you have ineffective institutions where investors' confidence is very low, then obviously you will face such situations. But if you create a situations where people trust the institutions, someone bringing $10 million from the United States know that if they invest their money in Ambazonia, they don't have to go through a series of rigid bureaucratic institutions where you're bringing in 10 million United States dollars, you have to pay bribe of 5 million for you to be able to, So by the time you invest the money, you already lost 50% of your capital. So the kind of system we will build is a corruption-free system, so that which create an environment that is very, very favorable to business, and we make the process of starting a business to be very streamlined, where within 2-3 hours somebody can be able to set up a company. Where right now you go to La République du Cameroun, sometimes you can go there and spend 2 to 3 months. You don't even have a business registered. So part of building that confidence is the type of business environment. First, a stable political environment, an attractive, conducive, peaceful, stable environment with sound institutions where getting a business to start, access to capital. Once you have those, you have the foundation set up. Now you create investors' confidence, as the chairman has already stated. So once we have this, the most important thing, chairman, it's not the idealistic principles. It's putting the building blocks of an effective state in place. This is what the manifesto is. This is what the economic blueprint is about. It's putting those key foundational structures in place. You have that, you create business confidence like none other. If you look at the CEMAC region, is there any state in CEMAC region that is stable? La République is not stable. Gabon is not. Congo is not. Equatorial Guinea is not. If you go up, Chad is not. Go on the other side to Nigeria and Biafra, they are not stable. So if you look at the overall environment, there is so much instability. This is why it's critical for Ambazonia to get it right. And that's why we have a blueprint. That's why we have an economic philosophy and a foundation, research properly done, that will help us to put in the infrastructure, the institutions. You will get everything right, then we'll become the Singapore. Singapore have done it. Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore did it. They were also colonized. They've gone through what we are going through right now. So if others can do it, we can do it too. We've proven that in the 50s and the 60s. So not to talk about a generation now that it's me and you and the chairman, and you have 2 million Ambazonians that are out here with first world and first class education and talent and skill. You have a highly educated population. So all we need, we already have the ingredients. We have the ingredients already. We have the ingredients in this. And that's why we are going to dominate the region and become the economic miracle in that region and take over the entire region.
Thank you so much. A leading question to our fiscal policy, to both of you. Our fiscal, because the document, the blueprint talks of the blueprint of our fiscal policy. It talks of the documents and the tax structure. How do we balance the urgent need for state revenue to fund these 10 pillars? You know, the blueprint is a 10-pillar blueprint, without suffocating the small and medium enterprises and the youthful economy, because like we are saying, in the first 5 years, before the first 5 years, we are just a young economy. So how do we not suffocate this SMEs and the young economy before they are even get started? Is the tax system proposed realistic? Is it realistic? How are we going to get this money to get to do these miracles that you're making us, jump out of our seats? You're making our viewers to jump out of our seats with a wow. How do we get this money to finance these 10 pillars without suffocating small and medium-sized enterprises and the young economy? Over to you, our financial expert, Mr. Emmanuel.
Thank you for that question. I'm going to begin with a personal opinion first that dwells on the politics, because that will be negotiable, and then we'll come back to the fiscal policy mechanism or architecture that the plan calls for. The politics being that one of the things that we had a conversation on, it's about what kind of a political system or structure does Ambazonia want to have. The spokesperson did allude to the fact that there is a lot of instability that is happening within a lot of these other countries that surround Ambazonia, and because of that instability, economic development cannot steadily flourish, and investor confidence is slightly down because a lot of people would not want to put their money where there is instability, both security wise and economic wise. Now, the conversation that we've had suggests that one of the reasons that is causing that is you have presidents of countries that do not have an independent do not make policy that is independent of themselves, that they receive they are so heavily influenced by foreign instructions. So we talked about a political system and structure which might be parliamentary democracy, which means that our parliamentarians will be elected, and through that system a prime minister is put in place, and with that prime minister, there is another structure like what China has with the Communist Party, or what Iran has with the Council of Elders. What that council beyond the politicians tend to do is to basically act as checks and balances with the political power. Political power, in this case, the prime minister or the president. So you cannot have a situation where foreign foreign conversations are had with the president, and the president goes on to implement strategy that is basically not in the interest of the population. In this case, not in the interest of Ambazonia. So that is mitigated, or those checks and balances, the veto powers come with the council members that will then be elected from the various states or regions. Now, don't want to dwell so much on that, but want to make the point that the strength of that then creates for the fiscal policy that is implemented or executed, whereby we have a progressive tax structure in a system where politicians can easily be influenced. You can have billionaires on one location, while you have individuals that are not able to put food on the table. But when you have a tax structure that is progressive in nature, because it is debated by councils that are over the politicians to make sure that veto powers are exercised that are in the national interest of the country, in which case a progressive tax structure then allows for those who make more to pay more, and those who make less to pay less based on their income that they make. And the income that is then generated through that avenue then creates the background for which the investment takes place. Now, with the progressive tax structure, we have to equally be careful. It's not a system of just taxing people that make more. It's a system that allows for the fact that if you make more and are willing to invest that more in different productive ventures that allow for the employment of more Ambazonians, then basically with that investment, then you're not taxed more. Sorry, I'm starting to get get so much into the execution phase. But that is at least the philosophy within that. These tax systems cannot function, or these revenue generated systems cannot function very well without the fight against corruption. So corruption has to be there has to be zero tolerance for any form of corruption, and the politics cannot protect politicians that are involved in such actions. So there has one of the problems that a lot of these countries that the spokes mentioned was the fact that there is money, but those funds are used in places or used in manners that are not beneficial to the people or beneficial to the development of the country. So with zero tolerance actions that are in place, it will lead to additional revenue that is generated. That's one of the advantages that you did mention at the beginning of this conversation that Burkina Faso with Ibrahim Traore have, that they have been fighting corruption that has allowed for the generation of additional revenue that goes into towards the funding of these activities. Now, fiscal policy, we can talk about the leveraging, that is to say, borrowing. We have to be very strategic in the manner in which Ambazonia borrows. That is to say that there is a cap on how much can be borrowed based on the GDP that is produced, how much can be borrowed, and there has to be a conversation on exactly how the amount of money that is borrowed is repaid. Let's take, for example, if you are a small business owner, you go to the bank to borrow, you have to show exactly how you intend to make those payments. This implies that when I say strategic in our borrowing mechanism, a lot of times borrowing from the IMF and borrowing from the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, there are strings attached. So strategic in borrowing in terms of the fact that there could be like bilateral borrowing, but let's lending between say countries without going through some of those international institutions that tend to create a trap for a lot of the countries. That would be one way. There could be also borrowing from funded internally, which implies that we issue in Amazonia issue bonds, and both short term and long term, for the generation of the funds that they need. There could be borrowing internationally from other private big investment houses. That is not necessarily through the IMF or the World Bank, which comes with strings, as easily noted. And in every case, each of these should be in a productive, because you can't borrow and spend. If you borrow and spend in activities that are not revenue generated for the economy, then basically it's like taking the money and burying it in. So we have to be very, I'm trying to not go into so much detail. So we have to be very careful the way that these things are done. Now, another form of it could be investment by the state, in terms of through its monetary policy, it can print money. The problem with just printing money is that it creates for inflation. But inflation only tends to happen if it is not matched by economic activity. So if you print money that is not aligned with economic activity, then it creates for inflation. But if it aligns with economic activity, those are some of the things that these foreign states do not make known to us. That basically, what FDR was the president of the U.S. that ruled around the 1930s time frame. What they did at the time, with a lot of coming from a huge recession, was the construction of roads, where funds are printed and individuals are put to work towards building the interstate highway. So we could look into such formats as well. There's a lot of construction work that has to be done in Amazonia, whether it is infrastructure as in buildings, or it is infrastructure as in the road network, hospitals, schools, and libraries. So I hope that answers without going into so much details, hope that answers the question around the fiscal policy and the revenue generation mechanism and strategy for the Amazonian state.
You hit it. You hit it on point. Very on point. From my financial knowledge, America just prints money. Do we not have enough resources to print money so that this money can be backed by resources? and then we go ahead to do to encourage the engines of growth, which you mentioned: the road construction, the agri-industry, the industries, the energy sector, telecommunication, and all of that. Like you said, we can just print money. Look at our resources. Print the money. It's backed by resources. What is your expertise knowledge on this, Mr. Emmanuel? I'll get to you, Spokes.
No worries, please. Let Comrade Emmanuel answer those questions, and I'll make an addition to it.
Good. All right.
Thank you, Spokes, and thanks for that question. Printing money backed by resources can easily create inflation. So there are many mechanisms for which Ambazonia can manage that inflation to make sure that when such tools are used towards managing its monetary policy, it doesn't create a system for which its currency suddenly loses value. Now, one of the ways that has been the case has been the exploitation or the exploration, sorry, the right word, exploration of those resources to match the value of the funds that are printed, towards which this goes towards managing our balances of payment, whether it is balance of payment deficit or balance of payment surplus.
That's good.
Bear with me if I go into a little bit more details, but I'll try to keep it very briefly, meaning that the way that states would manage such affairs is that they do not, I borrow money from a state, I do not pay to that state cash. There is a balance sheet that is maintained by, there are international institutions that manage the balance sheets of states. So I ship goods and services across boundaries. Those goods historically they were paid in dollars. Now you're having a lot of states use the yuan and even the Russian rubles in making those payments. And the payments themselves, the cash themselves do not change hands. It's just a balance sheet entries that happen within those international institutions. So the shipment of those goods and services help then to bring. So if you do not have goods that you're shipping or you're trading in back and forth, and the printing of those funds happen, then it will cause a lot of significant inflation. The way that the US has been able to get away with it is because it also acts as the dollar also acts as a reserve currency. And as a reserve currency being used internationally in many other countries for settlement purposes, it equally plays into the role of balancing the US dollars. So we have to strike the balance between a foreign exchange, balance of payment deficit and balance of payment surplus, and also balance of trade deficit and balance of trade surplus. So in managing that, it will give us an idea as to how much of this currency that can be printed to support the economic activity without creating for an inflationary scenario or situation.
Brilliant. Over to you, strategist. Give us the strategic reasoning of leadership to govern this financial structure, this tax policy, this tax structure in our fiscal policy of the Ambazonia blueprint. Over to you, sir.
We are coming we're currently living in a state with extremely high taxes. If you look at the taxation rate in La République du Cameroon, it scares investors, right? Compared to most other parts of the globe, it scares investors. Now, also in La République, you don't even know when even though there is a clear policy in which of the tax rate, but is that what they do in La République? When the tax officers come around to collect taxes, do they go according to the tax rate? No. They look at the structure of your business, and someone look at the structure of the business and just determine how much taxes you have to pay. All right? So what we're talking about here is a structured state governed under a system of law where we make sure that our tax system is fair, is competitive, it's attractive to investors. Investors' confidence is critical. There are 2 million Ambazonians or more in the diaspora. There is a lot of money post-independence that will be flowing. So, as the chairman has said, through the transition government, that will determine what tax rate we will be using or introducing to the public, which obviously has to be very business friendly for us to attract capital. So that's the first thing we have to be talking about here. How do we attract capital? By putting in place a tax rate that businesses feel comfortable to pay, to bring their money in, to invest. Secondly, Ambazonia is endowed with abundance of natural resources that will help to kickstart the economy. You have a young, vibrant population that is educated and hardworking, ready to be trained, to be retrained, to be retooled. So when you combine a lot of these things, a right fiscal policy, a right tax rate, you have an conducive business climate based on the stability of governance we've created in Ambazonia. You have a highly educated society. You have an influential, vibrant, wealthy diaspora population. You have created a foundation for explosive economic growth. Right fiscal policy, which keep inflation down, will create a lot of wealth and abundance for the Ambazonian people. And I really look forward that I don't think one episode of this program is enough to talk about this thing. I think we have more of such discussions with the Ambazonian people, get the Ambazonian people involved, get the chairman, get other Ambazonians involved. This is not even a conversation I'm even supposed to be in this panel, because this is a conversation in which we need more.
No, sir. You have your place. You are a leadership strategist, because you bring in the leadership strategical part of it. The technical and the strategy goes together. Thank you.
Yeah. What I mean is, Ambazonia has a lot of brilliant people, like Comrade Sapel, where in such discussions, I'm not discounting myself, in such discussions, we need more people like him that are out there, right, that are in the finance, that are in business, that are in economy, that are leaders of industries for these discussions, so that we have such robust and interesting interaction. So, chairman of the commission, I think schedule something like this so that we can bring more. If we can have 3 or 4 of Comrade Sapel, and get Ambazonia to start to feel the future that we're about to create, the future that we're about to unleash, so that he's not the only one talking, so that there should be 3 or 4 of him talking in one panel discussion, so that we can, because what we are doing here is to showcase to the world, not only to the Ambazonian people, what we're about to create. And so this is great. I can't thank both of you enough.
Great. We can't go without touching on this question. Our time is fast spent, very fast spent, and following what I have in front of me for you guys is we can go on and on for the next 5 hours to get our people tuned in, to get our people to get into sync with what we envisage for what we've been fighting for the past 10 years, or for the past 61 years, 63, 64 years down the line. That's what we've been fighting for, because this is our fight. It did not start in 20 in 2016. It started in 1961 when our fathers went to the Queen to say, hey, you gave us only 2 options. We need the 3rd option. Give us an option to be independent. So the fight began in 1961, and it has been on till now. We are still talking about it. And so this blueprint opens up the minds of Amazonians to know, like I'm saying to our people, if you don't know what you value, what you are, what you possess, if you don't know your value, people will misuse you. People will misuse you. People will come and take hold of you and capture you. And so we are opening up, Ambazonia to the common man to be able to understand the value that they're sitting on, so that they know how to protect it. Let's get to the business before we wrap it up. Closing statement. We have just 15 to 20 minutes before we go. Let's focus on the natural resources and energy. Many African countries, African nations, suffer from resource curse. We have resources, like what I was just saying now. We have resources, but we are cursed. They suffer from resource curse. Does this blueprint provide a robust enough framework, perhaps a sovereign wealth fund model, to ensure oil and mineral revenues are actually reinvested into infrastructure, like it's in one of our pillars, one of the 10 pillars, pillar 5, rather than vanishing into private pockets? Let me start with our leadership strategies. Then the technical man will give us the other side. Let me hear you.
I'll make a quick statement, and then I'll hand it over to the chairman. Then I'll come back to wrap it up.
Yeah.
In La Republique today, less than 50% of the population after 65 years of independence.
5 years, yeah, 65 years.
After 65 years of independence.
65, yeah, 65. Yeah. That's correct.
Less than 50% of the population have access to electricity, and that access to electricity is unstable. Even Yaoundé does not have consistent, reliable supply of electricity. In most nights, Yaoundé is in darkness. In most nights, Douala is in darkness. Okay? Now, in our model, just to give Ambazonian a tease of our economic development, in our model, within the first 2 to 3 years, 50% of Ambazonia will be electrified. Within the first 2 to 3 years, something La Republique has not been able to do in 65 years, we are going to do it in 2 to 3 years. And within 4 to 7 years, 75% of Ambazonia will be electrified, based on our economic model. Because right now, power in La Republique, electricity is centralized. In Ambazonia, every state will be responsible for its own electricity generation. It is a completely decentralized system, unlike the centralized system where the people in Manfé have to wait for electricity to be supplied to them from Medea or from somewhere in the western region. Whereas the people of Ambazonia, the people in Manfé there, they have River Manu. And people in Meme will generate their own electricity. So, just to contrast, so Ambazonia should understand what is coming. Within the first 2 to 3 years, 50% of Ambazonia will be electrified. Within the first 4 to 7 years, 75% of Ambazonia. So just think about that in terms of the transformation that will be unleashed just by our people having access to stable, quality, reliable supply of electricity? Chairman, let me allow you to answer the question.
Well, well said, Spokes. What I would add to that is the fact that an economy cannot be industrialized without the supply of electricity. All industry, businesses, manufacturing, all is based in a consistent supply of electricity. When we somewhere around this conversation, we talked about the partition of the state into different regions. We have Ambazonia is very fortunate that nature has endowed it with all these resources to the extent that in every region there's a possibility, like the spokes talked about, to independently generate power without necessarily having to purchase or source it from another state per se. But we understand that it's all Ambazonia. So there might be situations where it is sourced from another state. There would be generally situations where it is sourced from every state within Ambazonia. You have, for example, the Savannah state. The Savannah state, whether it is through mention force or it is the implementation of solar panels to have electricity generation, that would be one way. So the focus, not necessarily the focus, the approach will be to look at all forms of energy, whether it is through hydroelectricity, it is through it is through nuclear, it is through solar. All of those avenues will be looked into depending on which state and where it is most beneficial for the execution of one or the other. Now, with the proper execution of, say, take for example the Menchu force, the capacity that alone can generate can be sold in order to generate revenue that would fund the execution for the others. When I say the others, whether it is the implementation of solar, now you have the development of other forms of electricity that we do not even yet know about or recognize. Like you had individuals that were able to harness frequency and from the atmosphere and convert it to electrical energy, and just with this single equipment was able to power over 300 homes. So you could have structures like those that power every 300 homes, every set of buildings, every neighborhood, having independent electricity generation. And we have to make sure that these are equally very cheap sources of energy, uh, because given the influence that energy has, it should not be. It goes back to the first pillars of the focus of this, where the focus would be in every individual Ambazonian person, such that they are able to use such resources without going bankrupt per se. Um, so overall, there are various nodes within Ambazonia that can generate the level of electricity or power that we need, whether various forms, solar, hydro, petrol, and so on and so forth, to power the economy that we envisage.
And win. We have a lot of win. All right. That's great. We cannot go without touching what is my heart. It touches me. I am a security expert. I'm a security expert. And so I cannot end this panel without talking about section 4, which covers governance and anti-corruption. Governance and anti-corruption is my heart. It's my baby. And so I would like you panelists to throw more light on this. Corruption is a terrible termite. It eats up economic foundations. It's like a canker worm. Does this blueprint propose an independent enough judiciary or auditing mechanism, strategies in which to bring this to bear on the population and the people, and to bring this confidence that we are talking about? But how do we curb corruption? How do we make this blueprint corruption proof free? These institutions from day one. We are talking about today. We are giving this blueprint. We are exposing this blueprint to the Amazonian people, because remember, this blueprint is post conflict implementation, and immediate implementation in places where we have control. We can start it. And so how do we curb this? How does this blueprint bring the independent judiciary and then the auditing mechanisms that we will put in place to make sure that this blueprint grounds in Ambazonia and gives us the kind of country that we desire and that the kind of country that people will admire? Over to you.
I can start, and then
Spokes.
the spokes would finish and conclude.
Okay.
Regarding this, we did mention the fact that we have to have very strong government institutions, and when I said that was my personal opinion about the formation of a council above the prime ministry that can appoint the body that is responsible for corruption. This would be an independent institution, and this institution will be answerable to Parliament. When Parliament votes for a budget, that is already there for that institution. What that means is that it is beyond the control of the prime minister in such a way that you can fire, because one of the ways that you can circumvent the authority of such institutions is to threaten to fire to fire the various individuals that govern such institutions. So, but by putting it that way, then you give this institution additional powers to do their job. In some countries, people that are involved in corruption are actually executed if proven guilty.
In China.
Um,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but we have a culture in the Ambazonian culture. This was foreign to us. It is not something that Ambazonia had been used to. The level of corruption that we see today in Ambazonia. This is something that was brought in thanks to the colonialism of another country. Now, the establishment of an independent institution, commission that would investigate allegations and if proven guilty, then will follow the right channels towards maybe the right discipline. Then this cannot really function without the right legal framework as well to protect both the commission that is involved in anti-corruption and also to make sure that the framework does work. So the establishment of the right legal framework to make sure that this works very well. And there has to be equally decentralized authority within this framework, decentralized in terms of the fact that these commissions should have the power to do their job one way or the other. So this, in many countries right now, there's been the anti-corruption agencies are endowed with the digital computer technologies, the right technologies in order to be able to function adequately. So they will equally have the right capacity, the right skill set, the right technology in the digital age to function adequately. I'll leave that to Spokes to conclude for us.
Thank
Yes,
you so
folks,
much.
Chairman.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Corruption is a behavior. Corruption is behavior, and then from behavior, it becomes a culture.
That's right.
So it's not something that people are born with. It's a learned behavior that is rewarded and then reinforced, and then it becomes a culture. And so behaviors can be changed, and cultures can be changed. In Ambazonia, the best way to make sure that it doesn't happen, you make sure it doesn't start. Yeah.
Beautiful.
The best way to make sure that corruption does not take place in Ambazonia is make sure that corruption does not start. And the way you do that is you elect people that are not prone to being corrupt. We've seen this in our liberation struggle. We've seen corrupt leaders, and we've seen what corruption has done to the institutions that are led by these corrupt leaders. We've seen corruption in activists, and we've seen the consequences of corruption. So it's something we already have a taste of. The question is, do we want to transfer these destructive behaviors? Do we want to transfer them to to an independent state? The answer is no, you don't want it. So Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore did it during the revolution. It's one of the things he promised the Singaporean people, that if his party is given the ability to elect and become the government in Singapore, Singapore will become corruption free. And Singapore is corruption free right up until now. So there are societies where corruption does not exist. If you build the right foundation and you elect the right leaders. Remember, every society has a choice as to who governs them. The people of the Republic make the choice for Mr. Biya to govern them, and they are paying the price.
That's right.
Okay? They allow Mr. Biya to steal the election. They accepted it, and they are paying the price.
Absolutely.
So, we as a people, we've seen the destructive nature of corruption. Why do you want to tolerate it in a culture where you want to build a state of greatness? So that's why the first thing is it won't start, because we are going to build institutions that will detect every person. Let me tell Ambazonia people this up front. People will go through a psychological profile to hold public office in certain key areas, which means you will take a psychological, you go through, they will give you a system in which you answer certain information. You will sit down before you get a certain job. Okay?
Lies testing, yeah.
Ambazonia will not be that kind of a state. Even for you to become a member of parliament as a candidate, you go through a psychological process. So this is not a joke, okay? We are doing this in companies where I go into a company and we run the entire department through a psychological test to determine if you even fit or have the quality, the character, certain traits to
integrity. Yeah.
Company. Okay? Because that is going to determine your performance, to see if you have the right nature for the job. So Ambazonia is not going to be some shit no white blast type of La Republique where everybody can fill in to any position because you are appointed. It's not going to be like that. Number one, you have to have the competence. You have to have the right education. Education and competence is not enough. Character is everything.
Absolutely.
So in our state, based on our institutions will be more powerful than the personalities that work within those institutions. As the chairman has said, independent judiciary. Unfortunately, Justice Ayapol did not live to see the independence. That was a corruption-free Ambazonia. And he would have set an example of what a Supreme Court judge will be. You see, when you lay the foundation, now you know you have a solid structure. We have to get it right by putting in independent magistrate, judges, Supreme Court justices, people that in their character, in their way of life, there is zero corruption. So once you have it right from the foundation, the state will be fine, because it's monkey see, monkey do. The reason corruption is very chronic in La Republique, because the ministers see Mr. Biya being corrupt. The ministers see the Prime Minister being corrupt. The deputy sees ministers being corrupt. They see the general, the commissioner of police being corrupt. Because the commissioner of police is corrupt, the police officers are corrupt, the general is corrupt, the citizens are corrupt. Okay? Now, if you have a magistrate, let's say in Bamenda, the magistrate of the Bamenda High Court, it's a character-driven man or woman. You tell me, if you go there with a case of corruption, you're done. You
That's
don't.
it.
So
Mhm.
this is the kind of system we are going to build. This is the system we are going to build because corruption has destroyed more society than even poverty.
Absolutely. Yes.
Will not be part of the practice in Ambazonia. It is going to be the first African country that is going to be corruption free. You steal $1, you probably lose a finger. I'm not look.
That's
I
right.
don't preach something, but I'm saying in terms of the judiciary, the consequences that you have to pay to steal from the state, the consequences you won't even try.
Thank you, both gentlemen. You are awesome. You are a gift to the Amazonian people. Just sit back with me for a while. Let's watch the CIC, the Commander in Chief, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, in one of his excerpts, where he gives us a recommendation, for four recommendations, four things that we can do, to achieve, real independence. When we talk of real independence, it's just what we have been talking about here. So let's sit back, enjoy our commander in chief, and then after that we will call it quits. And then we have not even gone one fifth of the blueprint. So we still have about 4/4 of the blueprint to bring to the Amazonian people. And so stay tuned to ACN TV and other platforms so you can get just the best from the best of the minds of Amazonia. Let's watch. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I fell in love with the fourth recommendation, which is providing an alternative. The Ambazonian Independence Manifesto. It's an alternative to what we have lived in the past 64 years in the hands of colonial masters, from Britain to Nigeria, to France, to La République du Cameroon. That is what we have lived. So we are presenting to you, dear people of Ambazonia, an alternative. That is what our commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ambazonia, the leader of a war of independence, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, is proposing to you. Let's propose an alternative. This is an alternative, the Ambazonian Manifesto. Join us on the 11th of February 2026 as we launch the Ambazonian Independence Manifesto. You will be getting the best of minds coming to you to ground this powerful document, this powerful blueprint. We call it the sunrise. We call it the new dawn of Ambazonia. This is the new dawn, the sunrise. The sun is rising on Ambazonia. And so we are inviting you on the 11th of February come with us, join us as we launch this wonderful document put together by the Ambazonian Governing Council for the Ambazonian people. It is an Ambazonian product masterminded by the Ambazonian Governing Council. Other movements are already chiming into this wonderful document. They are part of this document. You will have them on the platforms. You will have them everywhere. To talk to you about this Ambazonian Minnesota. So they launch on the 11th. It's for our people and our friends of Ambazonia. And then we have the diplomatic launch, which is coming up on the 18th. So if you have your diplomatic friends, invite them so that we can have a great launch. Before we go, our expert is here. Can you have a last word for our people?
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Chairman. Ambazonia has a lot of promise. We haven't even touched on a third of the conversation that this document encompasses. This was just a brief introduction of the economic vision for Ambazonia. When the opportunity does present itself, we're going to take sections and segments and have additional conversations on it. We would ask that the Ambazonian people continue to support the progress that is being made in bringing to bear or in making this dream a reality. Thank you so much for your patience, and thank you all for following us on ACN, and stay tuned. Thank you, Chairman.
God bless Ambazonia. Hail, hail, hail this land of promise. God bless Ambazonia, and Ambazonia is still on the move, and we will arrive Boya safely. Thank you so much, dear viewers of ACN TV all over the world. Thank you, Ambazonian people. God bless Ambazonia. Bye-bye for now.
This is the Ambazonia Independent Manifesto, brought to you by the Ambazonian Governing Council. In the annals of human history, the struggle for freedom and self-determination has been a recurring theme, a testament to the indomitable spirit of oppressed peoples yearning to breathe the air of liberty after enduring decades of colonial rule, marginalization, oppression, and denial of their fundamental rights. The journey towards independence and self-determination is often odious and flawed with challenges, but it is a path born out of unwavering desire for freedom, justice, and recognition. The Ambazonian struggle is not different. The struggle for the Ambazonian independence is deeply rooted in over a century of resistance against foreign domination and oppression. The Ambazonian Independent Manifesto, drafted by the Ambazonian Governing Council, articulates the historical and ongoing grievances of the Ambazonian people and lays out a comprehensive vision for their future. This document is a testament to the enduring spirit of the Ambazonian people who have long resisted various forms of colonial rule and oppression from German colonization in the late 19th century to the present-day occupation by La République du Cameroon. The Ambazonia Independent Manifesto is divided into 3 parts. Part 1. What we have suffered. This section details the various forms of oppression and injustices inflicted upon the Ambazonian people by La République du Cameroon. It highlights the illegal occupation, political subjugation, economic exploitation, cultural assimilation, and human rights violations that have been perpetrated against Ambazonians. The historical context provided here underscores the legitimacy of the Ambazonian struggle for independence and self-determination. Part 2. Our right to life, liberty, and happiness. This section asserts the inherent rights of the Ambazonian people to freedom, sovereignty, and self-governance. It invokes international law and resolutions such as the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 1514, which affirms the right of all peoples to self-determination. The declaration emphasizes that the Ambazonian people have a natural and inalienable right to establish their sovereign state free from the occupation and tyranny of La République du Cameroon. Part 3. The final section underlines the founding principles and the vision for an independent Ambazonia. It details the proposed system of governance, which is based on democratic traditionalism, republicanism and distributive federalism, and national unity. The manifesto envisions a society founded on the pillars of freedom, the rule of law, peace, and the just common good. It also includes a comprehensive charter of rights and freedoms, emphasizing the importance of education, healthcare, justice, and economic prosperity for all citizens. The Ambazonia Independent Manifesto is not merely a declaration of political intent. It is a profound expression of a people's historical experiences, cultural identity, and their unheeding resolve to reclaim their sovereignty. It speaks to the long-standing grievances stemming from colonization, marginalization, oppression, and the denial for their fundamental rights. Through its pages, the voices of the oppressed resonate, demanding acknowledgement and redress. It is a landmark document in this journey and a accumulation of years of peaceful protests, legal battles, the diplomatic efforts that have been met with indifferences, genocide, brutality, and disproportionate violence. It embodies the collective will and aspiration of the people of Ambazonia. The manifesto makes a compelling case for why the international community must recognize and support Ambazonians' quest for independence. It highlights the urgent need for diplomatic initiatives, humanitarian aid, and renewed focus on addressing the ongoing conflict and humanitarian crisis in the region. The Norwegian Refugee Council's recent report, which ranks Ambazonians' crisis as the second most neglected conflict in the world, underscores the dire need for international attention and intervention. The ongoing violence has displaced hundreds of thousands of people, disrupting education, and leads to several human rights abuses. Despite these challenges, the Ambazonian people have demonstrated remarkable resilience and have established self-governance structures in areas under their control. The Ambazonia Independent Manifesto, codenamed Sunlight, is a ray of hope for each Ambazonian. It is written in 3 parts. Part 1 deals with some of the atrocities Ambazonians have suffered in the hands of La République du Cameroon colonial rule. Part 2 exposes our right to a life of liberty or dignity and happiness in the land of our birth. Part 3 highlights the great vision for the best country in the world that we aspire to build. In all, It set forth the principles that guide our struggle, why we fight to be free, what we envisage to gain as a free people, and the strategies we will employ to attain our goals. In addition, it outlines our vision for a free and democratic Ambazonia, where the rights of every person are respected, and where justice, peace and happiness and prosperity reigns. This will not only correct the criminal and genocidal past, but will guarantee each citizen of Ambazonia inalienable individual, collective and community rights. Once you get a copy, you will know better and act right for us to realize this great vision as soon as possible. In presenting this preface, we honor the dedication and bravery of the authors who have given voice to a cause that transcends political boundaries. Their work is a testament to the power of collective action and the enduring quest for the freedom. It is our hope that this manifesto will inspire solidarity, provoke thoughtful discourse, and galvanize support for the Ambazonian struggle, ultimately leading to the realization of their long-cherished dream of independence. The Ambazonia Independent Manifesto is therefore a clarion call to all Ambazonians at home and in the diaspora to unite or at least collaborate in the historical struggle. It is a call to action, a call to perseverance, and a call to triumph over tyranny. Together we build a future where the children of Ambazonia can live in freedom and dignity, in a land they can proudly call their own. As the Ambazonian struggle enters a new phase, the Ambazonian Independent Manifesto serves as a roadmap for achieving a just and lasting peace. It calls on all stakeholders, including international human rights organizations, peace and conflict resolution experts and donor countries to support the Ambazonian people in their fight for freedom and justice. The manifesto is a powerful reminder that the quest for independence and self-determination is a fundamental human right, and it is a right that the people of Ambazonia are determined to realize. The international community has a moral duty to support the cause, as it aligns with the universal principles of human rights and self-determination enshrined in the international laws. We call upon nations and people of the world to stand with us in solidarity, to recognize our plight, and to support our legitimate aspiration for independence. In the spirit of liberty and justice, we present this manifesto to the world as a beacon of hope, a testament to our unheeding resolve. Let it be known that the flames of freedom burns brighter in the hearts of Ambazonians, and no force can extinguish our quest for independence. With profound respect and admiration, Jose Abang.
In 2026, over 250 million children worldwide are still denied education.
Girls in rural communities walk hours just for a chance to learn. Education isn't a luxury, it's a human right.
Every child deserves a desk, a book, and a future. What are you doing to make that happen? When we invest in education, we break cycles of poverty. One classroom can change a generation. The Ambazonia Manifesto brings you the roadmap to providing every Southern Cameroon's child the best education.